Picture this. You find the perfect house, you write an offer that gets accepted. Then 2 weeks later, you find out the foundation has a crack in it, the roof leaks, and the appraisal came in low. Without the right contingencies, you're stuck. With the right contingencies, you can walk away with your sanity intact. Today, I am breaking down the 7 contingencies that every homebuyer needs to know before you write that contract. Hey, I'm Brian. I'm a realtor in the Indianapolis area, specializing in working with first-time homebuyers, but this video is not just for the first-timers, it's for anybody looking to buy a house. Do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, and feel free to share this so that others get the same knowledge that you're getting today. So what are contingencies? Well, contingencies, they're like safety nets. If the conditions aren't met, you can back out of a deal with your money, without any lawsuits, and, well, ideally anyways, without any drama. Not knowing these contingencies and putting them in place can cost you big time. So let's break down the 7 contingencies. The first one on the list is a financial contingency. Now, this is primarily for those of you using a loan, but I guess there can be a cash contingency as well. Essentially, it means that you have the financing for the house. If you're a cash buyer, you do need to provide proof of funds up front, showing that you have the money somewhere in an account, whether it's a bank account, whether it's a savings account, whether it's an investment account, something like that. And it can be a combination of those things. And you got to make sure that you can prove that you actually have the money that you have offered to purchase the house with. For the majority of people buying a house, they're getting a loan. So you have to qualify for the purchase of the house based on the price to which you agreed. That's the financial contingency. The home closing is actually contingent on the financing being approved. Every buyer should come to the table with a pre-approval. Ideally, you have that before you even start searching for a house. Pre-approval, however, that's not a guarantee, okay? Yes, you've been pre-approved for this amount, and unfortunately, I've had people who've been pre-approved, we got the offer accepted, and somewhere during the process, the bank said, nah, they don't really qualify for that amount, and the deal almost fell apart. Thankfully, I was able to find a lender who could make that deal work, but contingent upon getting the financing for the house. The second type of contingency connected to that is the appraisal contingency. This usually does not apply to a cash buyer. Most cash buyers that I've worked with anyways don't ask for an appraisal because they have the cash, they're willing to pay the cash for the house, so they don't necessarily need to know the value of it. But they can, if they want, have an appraisal. A lender, however, is always going to have an appraisal as a requirement of the purchase. An appraisal is the value of the house determined by a professional appraiser. If, let's say, you're buying a house and the contract says the home is $300,000 agreed to by both sides on the purchase agreement, the lender is going to send out an appraiser to overlook the house, judge it against comps in the area, and determine the appraised value of the property. If that $300,000 house doesn't appraise at $300,000, well, then the financing can fall apart. That's all part of the purchase agreement. I have made another video about that, so go check that out. But the appraisal contingency, meaning that the home appraises at the price agreed to, and if not, well, then there might need to be a new negotiation involved. But as a buyer, if the home does not appraise at what you have offered, you actually do have the right and opportunity to back away because the financing is not going to cover it, and so you could walk away. The third one, and maybe something that kills a deal most often, the inspection contingency. Now, I recommend all my buyers get a home inspection, whether it's a brand new build or whether it's a home that's 100 years old or anywhere in between. I suggest that they have a home inspector come in and check out the property. You want to make sure that you are being protected in case there are things that come up that need to be addressed. Now, within that home inspection, you can ask for the seller to address defects in the home. If they do not agree to address those defects or agree to address them in the way that you as the buyer want them to address it, the contingency kicks in and it allows you to back away from the deal, getting your earnest money back, and then going shopping for a new house. It does have to be a defect, however, so that is a very important part of it. You can't just ask somebody to paint a room because you don't like the color of the room. They say no, it doesn't really give you the right to just back away without probably losing your earnest money, but that's a whole nother video altogether. Some of the biggest things that I've seen come up in inspections in the Indianapolis area, the ones that maybe cost the most money: roofs and foundations/basements. Foundations that leak, foundations that may be old and cracking and not supportive anymore, roofs that leak, roofs that are well beyond their age of expected life, or hail damage, things like that. They are expensive to fix. As the buyer, I recommend that you have an inspection so that you're not buying a money pit. Things that come up that you didn't know that were there, and the inspector finds them, and then you ask for those things to be fixed. As a buyer, maybe you shouldn't be required to take care of a roof or a foundation. Maybe you have the financial means to do that. Maybe it's something that's several years away and you're eventually going to take care of that down the line. But if you're looking to buy a house and it comes up right away that the roof needs to be replaced or the foundation needs to be addressed, those can be very expensive. And as a buyer, you're sending a lot of money out the door right away. And you don't want to also have to take care of these very expensive items. So those are the kind of things that if they are defects, you can ask the seller to fix them. And if they choose not to address it in any way, shape, or form, you do have the right to back away because the deal is contingent upon those things being addressed. The fourth contingency is title contingency. Now, here in Indiana, we work with a title company to do all of the closing paperwork and do background checks on the house. The title company is going to look into ownership of the house. What that means is they are going to check for various things such as, is the current homeowner the person who actually owns it? Is there anyone who could claim ownership of the house that either the current homeowner doesn't know about or they're hiding that from them? Such as a situation where maybe a home was inherited and there is a long lost cousin, brother, aunt, uncle, whatever, who can claim that they also own a part of that house. The title company is going to check to make sure that the title is clear, meaning the person who actually owns it. Then there are other things that the title company is looking into. Are there any liens on the property? Has the current homeowner paid their taxes? Are they up to date on that kind of stuff? Have they paid their HOA dues, or do they have any old HOA dues that are leaning on the house? Another type of lien is a mechanic's lien. In other words, they had a contractor come in to do some work to the house. The homeowner has chosen not to pay that for whatever reason. Well, the business owner in that particular case can put a lien on the property, which means that until that is paid, then the homeowner technically can't sell it. So you don't want to be responsible for that as the new homeowner because they're not your debts. So the title company is going to bring that up to make sure that they are addressed either at closing from the money that the homeowner is going to make off the sale of the property, or they address them beforehand so that we can go to closing with a clean title, and that is not your responsibility. If those things come up and the homeowner isn't going to deal with it, well, you have the legal possibility to back away without any problems. Number 5 is sale of home contingency. Now, this is common with buyers who currently own a home and want to buy this new home. But they have to close on the sale of their current home first before they have the funds to be able to purchase this new house. There are a couple of different contingency options there. It's a first right contingency or a limited contingency. The difference between the two. First right contingency, in this case, you are the buyer and you have your house that you have to sell. You put in a first right contingency, the seller says, okay, we will accept that. the seller is still marketing their house because they're technically not under contract until you get your home under contract for sale. So the homeowner in this situation, somebody else comes in, wants to make an offer on their house. They want to accept that offer. Well, they're going to come to you and your realtor and they're going to say, hey, we're accepting this other offer. According to our first right contingency, you have whatever it is negotiated, 24, 48 hours, something like that, to decide what to do with this contingency. You can remove it altogether and just walk away, or you can remove it and just go ahead and agree to purchase the house, maybe without selling yours first. Again, whole nother video. Limited contingency is a situation, same idea. They've accepted your offer, but they're still they still have the opportunity to market their house because you haven't sold yours yet. Somebody else comes in, makes them an offer. They can accept that offer, cut you out altogether. You get your earnest money back, and you then have to walk away because now they're going to go work with the other person. Contingency number 6 is HOA document review. Within the purchase agreement, the HOA section says that the list agent for the property is going to provide any HOA documentation to you as the buyer because the community you're trying to move into has an HOA. Well, you have an opportunity to review those, and you want to make sure that you look at the covenants and restrictions because there could be things in there that don't work for you and your lifestyle. Are you going to want to put up a fence in the neighborhood because you have an animal? Well, maybe there is a fence restriction in your neighborhood and that's not going to be okay with you. Do you run an at-home business? And I had this happen where a client of mine, they ran an at-home business where they make things out of wood. And the HOA documentation said that you could not have an at-home business. Now, I'm sure that there are people that skirt that rule. If you are maybe a hairdresser, somebody who cuts hair for people or does tattoos or something like that. And you can do that out of your house, maybe without your neighbors knowing it, like it's in your basement or in your garage or maybe a bedroom upstairs or something like that that doesn't bother the neighborhood. Okay, you can probably get around that. But if you are like my clients and you do an at-home business where you make things out of wood, that involves a lot of loud saws and loud equipment. That's going to be noticeable by the neighbors, and there's really going to be no way you're going to keep that secret, and ultimately you're going to break the HOA rules. So read the documentation. Make sure you are okay with it because you usually have a couple of days to read through that and then decide if that's going to work for you. If it's not going to work for you, you can back away. And the final contingency is an insurance contingency. Now, if you are getting a loan to buy a house in Indiana, you do have to have homeowner's insurance. That is part of the purchase agreement. With that, you want to make sure that the home is not in a flood zone because in almost every case, homeowner's insurance is going to require a higher premium for flood insurance. And if it's in a particular flood zone, and there are a couple of different flood zones, if it's in a 2 or 3 of those flood zones, that homeowner's insurance is probably going to make you pay for flood insurance, which you as the homeowner are going to be responsible for, and you may not be able to afford the house based on what the flood insurance is going to be. If you're buying a home in Indianapolis, I walk my clients through all of these to make sure that they understand what they're getting into before we go shopping for a house, or at least before writing a purchase agreement so that they know what their rights and responsibilities are when it comes to these contingencies. You want to make sure that whichever realtor you're choosing, hopefully that's going to be me, you want to make sure that you're working with a realtor who does take time to explain these things because in the end, it's your money and it's your house. Do me a favor, hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, and share this with people that you may know looking to buy a house who have questions about what are contingencies. These 7 contingencies can save you money and a whole lot of stress. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them below, and you can reach out to me through my contact that is down in the show notes. Thanks for watching.